Available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440 or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
When you believe anything is possible, when you believe faith can make a mountain move. When you believe faith can make a mountain move. When you believe.
All right, so this sends me back. I know this is not an old song, but this style reminds me when I was a kid driving to New York. I came from New York to Florida, and I would drive back to New York and put on the radio. The closer you get to the city, the more you could get stations that played Motown, and it was just, this is the music. Except for the fact that later on in the song there is a rap piece, and I wonder how I would have responded back in those days to hearing rap. It sounds really wonderful in this song, though. That is Eddie Watkins Jr. that you're listening to right there. Anything's possible when you believe. I think that's the name of the song. Eddie is in the studio. He's known as the voice of Heart and Soul. He's in the studio. He's got his keyboard, and he has an amazing background as a bass player for probably every hit that I ever listened to on those drives, and even when I was up there. Good morning, Eddie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
You've got a long history.
Yes.
Wow. And you play the keyboard, but you're known as a bass player.
Yeah, that was my instrument of choice, was bass. I started playing when I was like 13 years old.
Is the bass player the one who gets the most girls? I always wondered that.
I have not found that.
You didn't find that to be true? I'm teasing. They would say it's the drummer, right, Rob? No, it's the singer. I don't know.
Singer.
So were you singing on the songs back in the day, or were you always?
No, I was just playing bass back then. I didn't start singing until I was like 36 years old.
You're so cool. Do you know how cool you are?
No.
You're a cool guy. You know what it is? It's like a pretty woman who doesn't know she's pretty. You're a cool guy and you don't know you're cool.
Oh, okay.
See that even the answer to that. Oh, okay.
That's right.
I'm gonna take lessons from you. Oh, okay. Maybe it's the hat. So Eddie called me the other day, and usually when a musician calls and asks if they can be on the show, I say, well, send me something. I didn't need to hear anything. I just knew from his references, Marianne is a friend, so I figured, well, she wouldn't send somebody that's no good. And then I think you said you had recorded for Motown. I said, well, never mind. You don't need to tell me anymore. So, when we were kids, white kids, I was a white kid when I was a kid.
Really?
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. So I had no idea sometimes that the musicians were black and were playing at the Apollo. Uh-huh. And I lived on Long Island, so it was right there. I mean, it was right there in Harlem, but we never went. My father wouldn't let us go up there, so don't ask me why. He was a policeman in the city, so.
Okay.
So, were you ever in the Apollo?
No, never been to the Apollo,
No.
actually.
Now it's still a happening place, right?
I'm not sure. We had a place called the Fox Theater in Detroit.
Is that where you grew up in Detroit?
I grew up in Detroit, and at the Fox Theater, every Christmas, they'd have Motown reviews that would go on for a week.
Wow.
And at these Motown reviews would be every Motown star you can imagine, just the Motown artists.
Wow.
So we're talking about Stevie Wonder, the Four Tops, Martha and the Vandellas, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, all on the same show.
Wow.
Just amazing stuff.
Wow. And was it like, were you dead tired after one of those events?
Well, at the time, see, my junior high music teacher was the baritone sax player in the Motown band.
Is that right? Wow.
So my first experience was at 13 and 14 and 15 years old going. So I had unlimited energy, and I was just so captivated by the whole thing, like the musicians and the singers and the costumes and I had been listening to this music because my parents were big Motown fans as well. So it was when I saw that, I knew that I wanted to be in music for the rest of my life.
And it worked out for you. So was the bass the first instrument you picked up?
No, I started on piano at 7 years old.
Oh, you did? And it stuck with you. That's why you can still play it, right?
I do okay.
So what do you think about the 5-string bass? Doesn't that drive you nuts?
Well, I got to tell you, when they first came out, I was asking, like, why?
Yeah, me too.
But as I've heard more songs with it,
Yeah.
and people who use it tastefully,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I enjoy it, but it's not for me.
Are you surprised by the people who don't realize the importance of the bass?
Well, it's all about that bass.
It's all about the
It
bass.
is.
Did you ever go to? Is it Berry Gordy? Did you ever go to his house?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
I knew the lady who lived next door.
Oh, is that right?
Al Wilda. Does that name ring a bell?
It does.
Yeah. She lives in Top of the World.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She lives over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, see, hanging out with Barry was a little bit above my pay grade back then.
Well, I guess so. Yeah.
But I did live down the street from Marvin Gaye and spent some time with him. A lot of the artists that I played with, I didn't know them. Sometimes I didn't even see them because I was in the part of the record making that was done, making the tracks.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I wouldn't even see them, but some artists who played, like Marvin was a keyboard player, and he would write a lot of his own music, so a lot of times the musicians would gather around him and we'd work out songs like that.
So this question might be because I'm old, but I feel like the Motown sound is still relevant. Some of the music that has come and gone sounds dated when you hear it again, like the disco stuff sounds dated, but the original that music I just listened to could have been then, except for the rap that happens later on in it, right? And it's now also. It seems like it's just as relevant today as it was then. So what's your thought on that? Does a young kid today hear that and get the same feeling like I get, do you think?
Not only that, and I totally agree with you, but not only that, a lot of the Motown music is being copied today, or pieces of it.
Sampled. Yeah.
And I remember quite a few years ago, even Phil Collins, that really got him started as a soloist because he did a cover of "You Can't Hurry Love."
He sure did. Yes.
And it was a huge hit.
I liked his version too.
And he did it pretty authentically, it was pretty much sounded like a Motown song, and he didn't change it up too much.
Yeah.
But he just put that wonderful voice of his and his style with it, and it became a huge hit for him all over again.
Yeah. Well, it's just a good song.
It's a great song.
That's part of it too, isn't it? A good song probably will always be a good song. There might be some exceptions to that.
Yeah, I differentiate between a good song and a hit record, because you can have a hit record that's not a good song.
Yes.
And those hit records, they come and go.
Yes. Whip it good.
right. But a great song is timeless, because if you go back to songs like, say, "Because of You" or "That's All" or "Unforgettable" or songs that'll last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, you are so multi-talented in your field, but you also had some personal battles to overcome.
I have.
Like what?
Substance abuse.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
You don't look like you were substance abusing.
That's because I stopped.
So, did that change your music at all?
Yes, it did.
I don't mean the substance. I mean recovering from it.
Yes, it did. In an attempt to gain my sanity, I went into a 12-step program. And while looking for a God of my understanding, I discovered that I didn't really have one.
A God?
Oh my
Is that
God.
what you said?
Of my understanding.
And you do gospel music now?
Well, that changed my life because after that happened to me, after I got sober, I had a new direction, and that was to serve. Serve through music.
You are in the best years of your life right now, aren't you?
I am. And one other thing I'd like to do, I would be remiss if I didn't. I want to give a shout out to my sweetheart, Mary Ann, because she's the reason why I'm here.
Marianne is a sweetheart.
She's the reason why I came off the road.
I think I drew her picture last year. Did you ever see the picture I drew of Marianne?
No, I didn't.
No?
No.
I'll find it for you. What is your necklace? What are you wearing?
This is a crystal. I make these. I actually wrap these.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. When I get a crystal, it's usually a little bigger and has mustard on it.
Your personal story about your eating habits made me cry when you brought in the animals. I mean, you really did. I got emotional
What do you
when
mean?
I read that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I stopped eating meat about 10 years ago.
You did?
Yeah, and it wasn't, well, I was like really, really huge. And, but I didn't stop eating meat because of that. It was because of an awakening about how the animals were being treated and fellow sentient beings, and it's a personal choice because, my favorite food was bacon. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you could add to bacon was a hamburger.
Right.
There was a hamburger in the news this morning.
Is that right?
Served with a tarantula on it, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, to each his own.
To each his own, that's right. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for the picture of Marianne while we're talking. So I'm really excited to get to know you. So do you tell me about the evolution of the song? Can we talk about music a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so and maybe it doesn't have to be how it's done today. Maybe in your whole life, So how do you first find out about a song? How do you work out your part? Does somebody hand you charts, or do you just kind of work it out?
Well, the song begins with somebody having an idea about what to write about. The songs are written and then they're recorded. So if you want to talk about the writing part, we can talk about that. If you want to talk about the recording process.
I want to know both. So the writing part, so you have an idea, and that sounds like a word idea, or is it a music idea?
For me, they mostly come together. I'll come up with an idea, and it'll be a melody kind of with it, or an idea about how the rhythm of it should go.
So let's take, for example, Anything Is Possible When You Believe, that one. So you had that idea, that one line came to you?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And it was, that whole CD was written during the time I was a choir director and musical director in Seattle. And I was going through some challenges, and I would walk every morning. And one morning I was walking at Magnuson Park, and I was walking, and in rhythm I was just thinking, anything is possible.
Oh, it came to you with a melody.
Believe. Yeah, it came, and that's all it came. And for weeks, that's all I had. All I had.
Wow.
Yeah. But I kept walking.
That's almost like God touched you.
Yes. Well, every song now is like that.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, but I heard Billy Joel say his songs come from God. And I thought, come on, Only the Good Die Young is a God song.
Well, I understand that because, you tap into
something bigger?
Yes, very well said. Something larger than ourselves, something bigger, a place that holds all the information for everybody. And it just depends on what frequency you're vibrating at, I mean, if you're going to write a song about something other than a higher perspective of things, and you're vibrating at a lower vibration, you're right there. So that's why I don't judge other people's music, because like Ray Charles said, every music has its spirit. Every music has its soul. So I respect all forms of creativity, but I choose not to say record rap or listen to rap, although I respect.
Really? But you have a rap portion of this song.
Well, that was a kid that was, when he actually did that, he was 19 years old. And I was a musical director. And
really?
He came to my office and said,
"Oh, you gave him a break."
"Mr. Watkins, I'm a rapper." I said, "Yeah, most kids are." But he says, "Oh, but I'm really good." I said, "Well, good for you." He says, "I'd like to," he was just relentless. He says, "Well, I'd like to play some of my raps for you." And he played something for me, and I said, "Well, the language in it is not acceptable. We are in a church." Mm-hmm. You know, and he says, well, I can write anything. So I said, well, I have a song called When You Believe. Can you write a rap for that? He said, I can write a rap for anything. And
were you impressed? Like, as somebody who you were resistant to rap for a while, it sounds like, right?
Well, you know, I had a dance band in California for a while, and people would request those songs. So I would do it because they would request it.
Really?
And just sort of like never really
Was it
liked
really your cup of tea?
It wasn't my cup of tea.
But as a creative person and looking at a young person who's also got that creative spirit, do you see that that's really the same person you were, except that just something slightly altered in the musical style?
Something altered in the musical style. However, as a musical director and working for a spiritual center, I felt that it was I had an obligation to point this young man in the right direction. And the things that he was writing about were not in alignment with with my principles.
Right. No, I agree with you with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you listen to that rap, it's brilliant. Because the things that
let me see if I can find it in here.
Yeah.
Well, and I hear what you're saying because this happened.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's on the big banner. I did that as a fundraiser last year.
Oh wow.
And Marianne was one of the first people to say, put my picture on the banner. Hers is early. The earlier in the banner, the worse I did on the drawings.
Oh. Okay.
So I did her pretty good, but a lot of them weren't so good.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
All right, let me see if I can find this again. Everything's possible when you believe, right? Okay, here I'm gonna. See, here's the beginning of it. I'm going to just fast forward it to where I think it is. It's close to the, 3/4 in, right?
Right, exactly.
Are we almost there?
About 8 bars.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Listen. Is that you doing that? Is that you?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. I like the chatter too.
It's coming up right now.
I'm believing in me, cause I'm believing in you. Smile on my face, catch my set, the mood, the rest is true. Accepting you for the things in life you do. Pick and choose in the game to win, I lose. Only traveling the one way, that's up. People always say to me, give up. I never had enough in the belief where I can feel all the people feeling me. What I gotta say, what I gotta pray. Believing in living this life every single way. Got a bunch of game, but it's not a sweepstakes. Got a bunch of love versus money in the bank. Anything is possible when obstacle jump the highest obstacle. Unexpected audible or foxtrot, hopscotch. Place your feet in the right spot. Thoughts under keen like a belief in me. Just continue to rock.
Oh man, I bet you when you were in that I bet you fell over.
I did, and I didn't do anything to it. It's exactly how he wrote it.
Wow. So you both helped. I love when that happens. I've always liked when musical styles that don't normally go together are put together, and it works.
Yes, very little instruction that I gave him. I said it needs to be about the song When You Believe, and it needs to have no profanity.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a profanity kind of a guy?
He's a profanity kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you have your keyboard.
Yes.
I hate to keep talking without having you play.
Okay.
Can you? What do you want to play?
I'll play one of my original songs. Most of my songs now are high consciousness based. So I'd like to play a song for you right now called, well, let me see. What Would Love Do Now?
What would love to now? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is live, Robin, and our mics will be turned off. It's all you.
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath, then let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? What would love do now? What would love do now? What would love do now?
Man, wow, that's beautiful. I had you on the live Facebook thing. Say hello to your fans.
Hi, y'all. How y'all doing? How your mama and them?
Oh, that was awesome. For those watching on Facebook, and if you're just tuning in, that is Eddie Watkins Jr. Troy Straughter, if you're still watching, he's a bass player.
Yes.
He's a bass player. Troy's a bass player. He's watching you right now. And were you harmonizing? Somebody said they were harmonizing, I think, on the thing here. You're known as the voice. So do you have a new, what do you call him now? Album? What do we call him now? A new record? Do you have a new record out?
We call them MP3 files.
You have a new MP3 file out?
No, I have a new CD out. It's called Heart Songs.
Oh,
And,
nice.
It's
Nice.
my 6th CD, actually, of inspirational music.
I had to turn off the live thing. I couldn't do both things at once.
I understand.
I have one called Across America.
Across America. That song is from the Across America CD.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
So do you? I mentioned earlier that I just have a feeling you're living the best. These are the best times of your life right now.
Yes.
Everything that happened that you would like to forget that's behind you probably made this the best times ever. You know what I mean? It's like we have to go through the what's they say in the Bible about the fire? You have to go through the fire before you can appreciate the diamond. Robin, you go to Sunday school. What do they say?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Sorry.
Well, the thing is like my bout with substance abuse lasted probably about 7 or 8 years. And in working my way through that challenge, afterwards, I look back on it and I think it was the most powerful time in my life because it changed the trajectory of everything. I was pretty much, my life was self-interest based. Everything was about making more money, getting more, acquiring more, getting more stuff, And what I realized is that when I had a lot of stuff, I was miserable. And when I lost everything and then started to get sober, I started to have different priorities. I started to learn what was more important in life, And the first thing was my gift. I had been given a gift.
Yes.
And I was not giving my gift.
It's an important lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I
wish everybody would learn that.
I give it freely, and my life is totally free.
Yeah.
You must have had loving family members and friends stick by you, though.
I
throughout
did it,
this
and I
time.
still do. I have friends from high school still.
Nice.
Yes, yes. And pretty much, I don't really make friends that easy because my idea of a friend is a lot different from some people's idea of a friend. You know.
What would we do if we hung out? Like if you and I went out, what would we go do? Play tennis? I don't know what we're doing.
Well, you know, I really don't. I really don't hang out. I hang out with Mary Ann. That's pretty much the only.
Oh, I'm with you. I don't do a whole lot of that either. So can I play you have an a cappella song that you sent me, right? Is it a cappella? At least the beginning of it is, right?
I'm not sure which.
All our needs are met.
All our needs are met. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love that sentiment.
Well, let me tell you about that song. You know, my father passed away about a year and a half ago. He had never been on any of my CDs. Of course, he doesn't sing or anything, but he played a little piano. But when I did that song, I was in Detroit at my mom's house, and I called everybody into the room, my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad. All of them are on that recording.
Oh, really?
Oh, how
Yes.
special.
And is the clapping in the beginning?
That's my family.
All right, let me play it. We'll play a little bit of this. All our needs are met.
Yes.
Here it is.
Come on.
That's my mother. All right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All I needs are met. All I needs are met. Okay. All I needs are met. Sometimes all I needs are met. I forget all I needs are met. That all my needs are met. And then I fall asleep thinking things I don't believe until I wake up in gratefulness, counting all the ways I'm blessed. That all my needs
Isn't that awesome? That is so tight.
There were times I recall when I couldn't see the light of day, but somehow sweet spirit made a way out of no way, and that is why.
What is it all voices?
It's all voices.
No matter how dark it gets, oh, that all
There's a little bit of piano.
I need
Oh, really?
are met.
Oh, I hear it now. Yeah.
I could not have come this far without the everlasting love. My shelter from the cold. I'm so grateful that I know
Wow.
there were times when I thought I couldn't make it through another day. Somehow, sweet spirit made a way out of no way. I saw the light.
You know, I'm supposed to be doing a talk show, Eddie. I'm just so taken in by that. Who's the female singer? Is that your sister?
No, that's a girl that was in my choir back in Seattle.
Oh my gosh.
Her name is Rhea Cherie, and she was just one of the vocalists. But she was, she kind of looks like, has a look more like a Bonnie Raitt.
Oh, really?
And it's just such a soulful. She's a little bitty white girl, and she opens up her mouth, and all of the soul comes out. I was saying, "Wow, this is amazing." And I had her in to do a background part, and she says, "I really like this song. Can I sing something else?" I said, "Go ahead. I can always erase it." And
I can always erase
so she
it.
came up with all of this extra stuff to put on the recording, and I listened to it, and I said, "My God, that's outstanding." So I didn't mess with any of it. I kept it exactly the way it was. So that was totally all of her.
Wow. So are you performing someplace that we can promote? Is there an upcoming show?
Yes. On the 21st, I'll be at the Hilton, Ocala.
Oh, at the Hilton.
Yes.
Nice.
And then on the 27th, I think it would be my final performance there of April.
So are you living in Ocala now?
I live in Ocala now, yes.
So you went from Detroit to Seattle to Ocala.
No, I went from Detroit to Los Angeles,
Oh, okay.
to Las Vegas,
It gets worse.
Yeah, you got that, brother. And then, from Las Vegas, I moved to Seattle.
Oh, okay. Then it gets better.
Yeah. Well, when I moved to Las Vegas, it was to become a musical director for a church there. So
okay.
Sort of like a little buffer.
So that's okay. Yeah.
Right. And then I got a call from Seattle, and this is like one of the biggest churches in Seattle. So that was a great opportunity. So I seized that and went and stayed there for 3 years.
So can I tell you my thoughts on Detroit and Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay. I always thought Detroit was where everything was original. The music, I mean. The music was original. L.A., they wanted somebody who could do like they're doing in Detroit. They were asking for people to, you know what I mean? They weren't.
Exactly.
They didn't want anybody to be original. They wanted people to sound like. Can you sound like those guys in Detroit? Right?
Exactly.
And the same thing happened in Seattle. Seattle was original. Everybody had this original sound, right? L.A. did the same thing. Hey, we need somebody who can sound like Seattle, right? Do you think that's the same thing?
That's what L.A. does.
Yeah, that's what L.A. does. Yeah. It's an honor to have you in our studio, and you've got so much more to your life that just kind of is begging to be told. Do you, in your live shows, do you tell that through song, or how does your relationship with God manifest itself in the songs? I mean, we've already heard that, I guess, but how do you answer that question, I guess?
Well, for me, it's a lifestyle. It's just a way of living. So you don't really have to think about how it goes or what to do.
So what you're saying is God is really cool.
God is the
Because
coolest.
if I'm looking at God through you,
and that's whatever your interpretation of God is, because I've dropped all of the labels and all of that as well.
In this interview, you said that you realized that your gift was something you were supposed to give.
Yes.
And I love that sentiment, and I wish everybody understood that. First of all, that everybody has a gift.
Yes.
And that your happiness comes from giving your gift.
And then when you're giving your gift, you have an inexhaustible supply. You never get tired.
And you'll never have a need that won't be met.
All your needs are met all the
That's
time.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
And you are a wonderful mentor, because so many people, they have a talent and they want to be noticed right now and go to the top right now. But they have to have that experience of interacting with other people and knowing that the other people care just as much as you do.
I come from a culture growing up in Motown, and with the Motown musicians, the Funk Brothers and all of those guys who were a bit older than I was. I was like the young kid that came in and started playing at Motown. But these older guys, they never missed an opportunity to school me. If I was doing something wrong, you might even get knocked upside the head.
Knocked upside the head.
Oops, upside your head. That happened to me one time.
I thought that was a Southern expression. Did you pick it up down here, or was that a Detroit thing?
Well, my whole family's from Athens, Georgia.
Oh,
We
okay.
moved to Detroit.
Okay. So you get knocked upside the head in Atlanta.
But that really happened to you when you were working with
it happened a couple times. I mean, one time I was working with this band, and it was a big band, and I was.
You're not dropping any names at all.
No.
You don't want to do that?
No, I don't. No. And I was like maybe about 16 at that time or something like that, And they said, don't be late. I came in like a half an hour late.
Uh-oh. Bam, right in the head.
Right in the head.
But you never did that again.
Well, I wasn't ever late. Again, I wasn't late for other people's jobs.
Oh, man.
It's proof that I was here an hour early today. So
Exactly.
that was
Were
very
you?
impactful. Yes,
Oh,
I was
wow.
an hour early. Yeah, I like to be early. And
Do you know what I heard the other day? I heard first time ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack.
yes.
And I forgot how beautiful that was.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting that was a hit song? I mean, you never hear a song like that beautiful that makes it to the top. That's a weird thing to say, isn't
You probably
it?
wouldn't today. It's probably the time that it was released. At that time, people were more open to a variety of music. There was a radio station that we got in Detroit that was actually out of Windsor, Canada, called CKLW. And CKLW they had so many listeners because they played everything from Aretha Franklin to the Beatles to Chuck Berry. I mean, they played everything. So, and I got to tell you, my appreciation for popular music probably came from that radio station, because every other station that I listened to were genre specific.
Yeah, right.
But CKLW was not genre specific. It was, they played everything.
Well, the top 40 wasn't genre specific.
Well, not back in the day.
Not in our younger days.
Right.
Because top 40, it doesn't matter. If it's selling the most, it gets played.
Yeah.
And you could have a spoken word thing, and it would be on the top 10.
Yes.
There was one example I can think of. I can't remember what it was. But you had you had this other language, right? Remember, they would make it to the top. And so that was good for us.
How did MacArthur Park become such a big hit?
Who did?
MacArthur Park.
MacArthur Park. Oh, my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had grooves that went past the record on that one, right? That was such a long song.
Yes.
So before we wrap it up, I know we went long, but do you like the way music is recorded these days? This is more of a technical thing, or would you prefer tape? Or do you still use tape?
No, I don't use tape. My only comment about popular music today is everything sounds so compressed, you know, and you don't hear the nuances in songs anymore. The dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, very seldom will you hear a song where it actually, the volume drops. And then it rises, and then it just, you know, more like a live performance. I mean, back in the day, you heard songs that, okay, like, say, for instance, off the top of my head, Little Anthony and the Imperials, you know, Hurt So Bad. If you listen to that song, it starts out, I know you don't know what I'm going through. And then it raises up, and then it has like a peak, and then it comes back down. Those are the kind of dynamics I'm talking about that you don't hear in popular music today, because everything sounds so compressed trying to get it louder.
Yeah.
You want to get it louder than the next person's recording.
Yeah.
But you leave a lot of the sensitivities out of it.
So you're going to be at the Hilton?
Yes.
Are you playing by yourself? Or is there other musicians with you?
No, it's a solo act.
Solo act. On the keyboard or the bass? Or?
Well, I do some keyboard stuff. I do some bass stuff. I have some tracks that I've created as well.
Wow.
That I play with, you know. So we do everything from Frank Sinatra to James Brown.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Did Frank Sinatra ever cover James Brown?
I don't think so.
Can you imagine Sinatra? Joe could just Sinatra. I feel good. How would Sinatra do I Feel Good, Joe?
I feel good.
Yeah, right.
I knew that I would.
That's awesome. And how would James Brown do Come Fly With Me? I'll ask you to do it reverse. James Brown.
Come fly. Give me now. Good God.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that.
Oh, my gosh. I knew you would be a good guest, Eddie. Eddie Watkins Jr., what an honor to have you in the studio. Go to his website, EddieWatkinsJr.com. That's where I went for so many songs. You got so many songs on your website, and we only played two of them here this morning. The two we played were When You Believe and All Our Needs Are Met. You will be, please remind me when you'll be at the Hilton.
The 21st and the 27th of April.
Okay, and let us know when you're playing someplace, at church, anything. Let us know. We'd like to help you get listeners from our audience.
That would be outstanding.
All right.
We will promote it.
Let me end with one. Let me end with the acapella one. Let me end with the acapella one. Here it is. Here it is. Eddie Watkins Jr., thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you both. Thank you so much
You too.
for having me.
We'll be
sir.
right back.
I couldn't make it through another day. Somehow, sweet spirit made a way out of no way. And that is why I testify. No matter how dark it gets.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Here is your 1-minute news brief from The Source, WOCA. 3 women, all in their mid